Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today I'm going to start a new chapter, which is socialization and the creation of social identity. Before I start up with my uh, lecture, I need to give you certain terms and their meanings. So it will be far more easier for you to understand the whole scenario. So first of all, we need to understand we are living in a society, and obviously, while we are living in a society, we are playing different parts. For instance, my name is Murtaza, and I'm a teacher, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a father. So there are so many roles, there are so many characters an individual can perform and is performing at the same time. So there is a debate among the sociologists that they need to understand, is it possible to understand individual by two different levels? Is it possible to understand an individual with nurturing process? Nurturing means the way he is brought up within the society. For instance, whatever I am right now, for instance, I'm acting as a teacher. So if I'm a teacher, there's so many things which are involved. The experience I'm having to being as a teacher, there are so many factors which are there in my personality being as a teacher. For instance, I got a lot of experience from my teachers. I keep on reading different books to enhance my knowledge so I can share a lot of things to my students. This is the thing. Then there is you can say, the collective role of individual with whom I'm working for so many years. Then there is a pressure of the society. There is a certain framework of society, are the institutions I have to be within this framework. So being working as a teacher, I need to follow certain instructions which are there by the society, are which are there by the presence of different institution. So when I try to act like a teacher, or I'm acting as a teacher, so it means there are certain things I have in my mind to observe to prove to be a good teacher. From where I get all those instructions to which I need to follow. This is the one of the things you need to understand. What? That a single person, a single individual has a lot of different characters, different roles to perform. This is the first thing. So when a person has so many different roles and characters to perform at the same time, so there must be some methods to understand the behavior of a person. For instance, you can say that I'm a good teacher. So how can you say that I'm a good teacher? Because there are certain things which you people have in your mind. There are certain criteria you people have in your mind to analyze my teaching skills. And then further, you can simply give a result. Yes, you are a good teacher. For instance, you are punctual, you're hardworking, you're a workaholic, or you're very cooperative. Your behavior is, or your mannerism is appropriate. Those, there are certain things which people have to judge a person, either he is good or bad. This thing is clear. So this is very difficult to understand an individual. In sociology, there are two different levels, two different debates by sociologists to understand an individual. One thing is that biological. For instance, oh, he's a male person and he belongs to a good family, or he belongs to that family, so obviously if his family members are like that, like inheritance, so he must be like that, for instance. So this is called nature. Nature means the way I am brought up by my family. This is one of the things I need to understand. This is one of the shortcuts, but this is not reliable for a person to be examined or investigated about his behavior. First thing. Second debate is all about nurturing. For instance, what is nurturing means? Nurturing means is the type of sociology, it's a type of socialization. So if you can judge me according to my parents, according to my family, it means you are trying to follow one of the things which is called primary socialization. So you are judging somebody by primary socialization, the way he is brought up by his family members, So this is called primary socialization thing. Nurturing, by the way he is brought up by his family, inheritance, biological understanding of an individual. This is primary socialization. So it, there dozens of time it happens, a person who is brought up such a nicely, a very good manner, parents are very good, very gentle, have a very good reputation, but when he mix up with different social classes. He joins some institution, his working place, his peers group. There are so many informal and formal institutions or department who is responsible to shaping an individual, and all those institutions, all those departments which play a part in person's behavior, in shaping a person's personality, is called secondary socialization. I mean, things understand what is primary socialization, what it is secondary socialization. So primary socialization reflect one thing, what? The way he is brought up by his parents. The secondary socialization, it's all about the nurturing. For instance, my parents are very conservative, very radicalist. I mean, they like to like me, they want me to be a very true Muslim, a very radicalist Muslim, conservative Muslim. But the way I move in society, for instance, I went to abroad for my higher studies. I mean, there are cross culture, there are different civilization. I used to live with different people of different attitude, different behavior, different background, different social status. All those factors changed in my personality. So now I am a bit liberal kind of a person who can accept so many things which is considered to be a taboo in my family or according to my religion, for instance. Understand all this? So this, basically you need to understand two different things, nature and nurturing. Nurturing by society, nature is from biologically from your parents. Understand? So these are the things we need to take on when we are trying to understand this chapter. And this chapter is all about socialization. As I mentioned earlier, only you need to learn one thing, two kind of socialization. One is primary, second is secondary. Primary is all about your parents, or your grand family, or your family members. When, I mean, it is restricted to 1 to 10 years, you can say that. But whenever we talk about the secondary socialization, it's all about, I mean, your college, even your school, your college, your university, your working place, I mean, the way you move up in the society, masjid, your religious centers, or community centers, your peer groups, the people, your friends, your buddies, with whom you used to hang up all the time, right? So there are so many factors which are involved in the secondary socialization. So now, from the book, you people have a lot of idea about what I mean to say, right? No, let's begin with the nature versus nurture debate. A debate in the social sciences about the whether a human behavior can be explained in biological, genetic, nature, or cultural nurturing terms. This is one thing. What is role is all about? Roles, expected pattern of behavior associated with each status that we hold, such as friend, pupil, or teacher. Values, belief are ideas that are important to the people who hold them. Our value always expresses our belief about how something should be. And the last, norms. What is norms is all about? Socially acceptable ways of behaving when playing a particular part. So difference between, see that, roles are general patterns of behavior. Role are general pattern of behavior, one thing. When we talk about the norms, norms are a bit restricted. I mean, for instance, I'm a teacher, I have different norms to follow. I mean, for instance, I will give you an example of the norms. When we are traveling, for instance, we can simply say, or we are entering somewhere and we find a girl around us, we simply say, ladies first. So this is not the thing which is in our culture, for instance. You can say that. This is the thing, I mean, which is generally acknowledged. I mean, you need to give preference to girls, right? Or for instance, we are about to start something, eating something. I mean, it is one of the norms they simply give, you start with the kids. This is one of the norms, right? And beliefs are the values, they are interlinked with each other. When we talk about the values, it's all about the civilization, it's all about your religious beliefs. There's different type of beliefs, but whenever we say it's beliefs, it normally reflect most of the things which is related to your religion. So this is we have in beliefs. So there are two things to understand. As I mentioned earlier, keep one thing in your mind. As I mentioned earlier, there are two things to understand the debate, nature and nurture. Now we simply expand this debate to a broader level. And when we talk about the broader level, we got two things. One thing is called structuralist approach, and second is called interactionist approach, right? So try to understand. In the previous chapters, we looked at different ideas about the relationship between the individual and the society based on the concept of structure and action. These concepts are part of domain assumption, are key ideas of the structuralist and interactionist perspective. In this section, we examine the concept of structure and action in more detail before looking at how the structuralist and interactionist perspective can be combined. So first of all, before we go into detail to understand what is the structuralist approach or the interactionist approach, we need to understand certain thing, a very important definition, which is domain assumption. What is domain means? The middle point, the things around which so many things move on. So basic, you can say the crux or the central idea about which the society moves on is called domain assumptions. What is domain assumptions? Fundamental assumptions on which a particular perspective or ideology is based. The domain assumption of Marxists, for example, include economic exploitation and class conflict. So before I start with this chapter, I need to talk to you something about what is structuralist approach and what is interactionist approach. See that I mentioned earlier, a single person has a different roles to perform, right? So according to structuralist approach, this society, it has a specific structure. Every simple society has a structure. Whenever we talk about a structure, it means there are so many institutions which make a shape of our society. And I tell you one thing, it is to some extent the similar we have in positivism, collective conscience. What is collective conscience? In my previous lectures, collective conscience is all about a framework which a pressure which is forced by different institutions or departments on an individual to perform according to that specific framework. You people remember that in one of my lectures I told you about the positivism and I told you about the collective conscience. So basically, the positivist approach is all about the structuralism. If we need to understand an individual, we need to understand an individual, it is far more easier to understand that individual on with the eye of a structuralism. What is structuralism? You need to follow the different departments, and if you follow the departments, you follow the rules and regulations a department have, and how people react according to that departmental roles, our conditions, our terms. So it will be far more easier to understand an individual. For instance, if a country or a community center has certain rules and regulation, or for instance, I'm talking, for example, I tell you one thing. Now, I'm running an academy, right? There are so many people who are, who used to come here just to study, to get something from my side, right? So if I'm very strict and rule and regulation, people like to come here and observe, oh, the teacher is very strict. He abide all the laws. For instance, he has certain rule and regulation, and I'm very punctual at certain things. I'm very strict at certain things. So by observing me, they can simply understand all the people who are here. They must be not the same as his teacher, but quite near to him. This is important. So by evaluating me, investigating me, observing my personality, my methodology, the way I work with my students, it will be far more easier for a researcher to understand which kind of ambience I am providing in my academy. Understand? This is called structuralist approach. So if you want to know something about the society, what is required? The requirement is you need to understand the functionality and the frameworks of different institutions. So if the institutions, departments are working properly, there isn't any corruption in those institutions, it means one can say that the society is developed. So how we can judge society? Not by the behavior of individuals, by observing different institutions. Why? Because institutions imposed certain limitations to individuals' life, individuals' work. How easy it is. I don't think so. It is difficult to understand. So what is structuralist approach? Understand? Second thing, what is interactionism? Our interactionist approach. But still there are so many sociologists who used to say, see that if you want to judge something, it's not a good approach to understand institutions because we are born freely. There shouldn't be any restriction or the limitation on an individual to perform according to his ability. Let it free. Let the person free to work whatever he has, what he wants to perform. So according to interactionist, if you try to understand an individual and if you try to shape an individual, let's see, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know which kind of teacher I am, but if you say I'm a good teacher, so this is not only my personality which is I mean, not responsible for what I am right now. There are so many factors. The way I brought up, one thing, the institution at which I completed my study, the college, the university, my experience, the kind of person I'm moving with, right? How close I am to all the religious doctrines. I mean, how you can say resilient I am while working in a society where there's so many cultures are working at the same time. So my personality or the shape of my behavior, my mannerism is not what actually I have from my family. Rather than basically whatever I am right now, it is due to interaction with different people, different class, different institutions, different teachers, religious scholars, the way I interact on internet. So there are so many factors. See, whatever you are not only, I mean, because your parents give you the birth. No, I mean, there's so many other influences. It is possible you're not that obedient to your parents. Rather than you are more friendly, you are more comfortable with your friends. This is what actually happening in this world. Most of the people, they are not obedient to their parents. They are more friendly with their friends, with their buddies, with their pals. So this is what actually we need to understand. Believe me, sociology is not that difficult. You need to close your eyes, have certain ideas, just try to find the same thing presently in your society, if you understand society. What is sociology? It's all about the study of a society. So it's not difficult to understand. But the thing is that you need to work hard. You need to put some pressure on your brain to work properly. So if you keep on trying, it will be far more easier. So basically, the thing right now we have to understand in two different approaches. Nature is connected with primary socialization. Nurture, secondary socialization. Structuralism, what is structuralism is all about? It's the way institutions work on the pressure exerted by the institution on an individual to shape his personality. This is called structuralism, the pressure of institution. And whatever you try to improve, there are so many people. I give you my own example. In my childhood, I got inferiority complex. It's very hard to face people. Believe me, I don't like to be in front of people because I have so many doubts about my personality. I feel I have a very different feeling about my personality because I'm not confident enough. I mean, it is like dying every single day when I'm supposed to face my opposite gender. But how I cope with all this? Keep on interacting with them, getting a lot of knowledge, try to prove that I got something which they don't have. Then, especially, I need to mention here my link with my creator. So, with the passage of time, I gain confidence. And right now, I'm sitting in front of you, just you can say, making my videos. So now, right now, I'm very confident enough. I don't feel anything. And I simply assume the thing I have, according to the saying of my Lord, about my Creator, that every single individual have a different trait, different characteristics. The important thing is that you need to know which kind of characteristics you have. And believe me, every single person have something different as compared to other. But why we are lagging behind with each other? Because we don't find time to explore what we have in our inner self. Right? So this is all about the interactionism. Keep on interacting with different people. You want to get rid of, if you have any phobia, you have any fear, what is the best thing? What is the best solution? Keep on interacting with that thing. So a time will come when you simply don't have any fear, don't have any phobia. This is nothing, yaar. I mean, for instance, you are fear about cockroach or a phobia with cockroach. It's so tiny creature. I mean, how can it harms you? You need to be brave enough. Right? So switch to all this. So for structuralists, the established social order represent a powerful force that the individual has little or no freedom to oppose. For various reasons, people accept the established institutional pattern. Listen what I'm saying. For structuralists, the established social order represent a powerful force which provide the force. The structuralists, according to structuralists, a powerful force that the individual has little or no freedom to oppose. For various reasons, people accept the established institutions pattern of behavior as if they were a hidden force controlling their action. By forming to social rules. In this way, each person action reflect the dominant influence of the social structure. For structuralists, therefore, sociology should be the study of the effects of the structure of the society on social life. In other words, sociologists should adopt a macro or large scale view. The action on the individual should be explained in terms of the influence of the overall structure or organizational arrangement of a society. For example, a structural explanation might identify poverty, which can be seen as a part of structure of society, as the cause of an increase in the crime rate. Likewise, difference in suicide rate might be explained in terms of difference in the beliefs and the practices between religious groups, religious institutional being part of the structural society. So see that if you understand society, you, as I mentioned earlier, you need to switch towards the macro level. I mean, what, there are two levels we have. One is called micro and second is called macro. So macro, you want to see something on a bigger scale, on a larger scale. So obviously an institution is a larger scale when we try to understand individual or even a society. So I mean, if there is a crime rate, excess crime rate, or the crime rate is increasing day by day, so one can simply say that, I mean, people are, I mean, obviously crime is not the kind of thing we can simply have just for the fun. It's not, obviously not for fun, because if you're living in somewhere where there's a strict rule and regulations, are you can say there's a writ of government is there, so obviously you can't take chances for fun. Yes, so one can say that there are two examples which I need to explain or mention. First, it's all about suicide. If there is increase in suicide, one can say that there must be some serious issues. Might be it's possible. I mean, if the country has a lot of inflation rate, the high inflation rate, one can say that the people who are committing suicide, it's due to the unequal or the you can say that it's not the distribution of wealth is not appropriate in the society. So people are with the passage of time, they are disappointing about their future and committing suicide. One thing. Second, it's all about uh, the crime rate. So if we can see in a society there is a crime rate which is increasing with the passage of time, so one can say that there is no rules and regulations present in the society, or there's a high inflation, people are not able to make their bread and butter. So if they are not able to make their bread and butter, obviously they need to find something else which is not appropriate to these kind of things. It's not difficult to understand. Keep on practicing, keep on thinking the new ideas. You need to relate with the structuralism. And when we talk about the interactionist approach, is it's all about behavior, it's all about action and reaction, it's all about the different scenarios, it's all about the different situations which are we have to face every single day. So according to interactionism is a journal term for a micro sociological approach that focuses on the behavior of the individual. Interactionism refers to three related perspective: phenomenology, ethno methodology, and symbolic interactionism, based on the concept of the social action. An idea we can illustrate by this, it's micro. We got 3 to 4 key terms you need to understand, and if you're able to understand this, then it's far more easier for you to understand what is interactionism is all about. So first of all is a micro sociology. Interactionism, it's all about the behavior, individualism. And when we talk about the individualism, it means we are talking about the micro level. Macro level, we need to understand institutions. Micro level, we need to understand scenarios, need to understand individual, right? So in interactionism, we got 2 3 things we need to understand. Micro sociology, type of sociology focused on the study of individual and small groups, one thing. Then we got phenomenology, it's interactionist approach that argues that the social world consists of phenomena whose meaning is both negotiated and interpreted through interaction. What is phenomena is all about? Phenomena is all about, see that when we are interacting with somebody, there is an action and there must be a reaction. So there are 2 things we need to discuss. One thing, for instance, I mean, I'm starting fighting with you, I'm starting arguing with you, wrangling with you for certain things. So there are 2 things, 2 aspects why I'm wrangling, why I'm argumenting with you. There are 2 aspects. One thing, right now, I mean, I don't like to talk to you, and you simply say something which is I don't like. For instance, the thing which is present right now, which is triggered right now. A second thing is that I mean, for instance, for 2 3 years I was somewhere, and the things are not appropriate, that at that moment I'm disappointing at certain thing, so I just get rid of my anger. So I need a time, I need a situation to at which I can simply you can say get rid of my anger. So I need a tool to simply overcome my anger. So there are two things. Negotiated means what we have, crosstalk. I mean, the thing I don't like, I simply heat up and I'd start screaming and shouting. Second thing is that you simply say, I mean, listen, this is a very, you can simply talk to me, right? You can simply, our teacher is good, but right now might be there's some issues, there are some problems today. So that is why he has changed his behavior. So I got two kind of behaviors. One, my impression, my general impression as a teacher. This is one thing. And second is that there's something happens beyond the camera which infuriated me a lot, and I just want to get rid of my anger. So there are two different things. So whenever there is interaction, we need to understand at two different levels. The thing which is happening at the spot, or which generally I have a sort of reputation. Two different things. I have a reputation to be kind, but for instance, if I start screaming or yelling like animal, for instance, so you can say there must be something very big happening in our teacher's life, or any even trigger this kind of attitude from my teacher. So when you are interacting with somebody, you need to understand two things. Either the person is the same, or he is a regular doing the same stuff, or he has a different kind of personality, but right now due to certain reason he is posing in a different way. This is what actually I have till now, right? And from tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, we simply proceed with the chapter. And there's so many interesting things we need to talk about this chapter. It's all about the socialization, and what is the effect of socialization on the individual behavior. Till then, fi amanullah, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.